get into the spiritual part, but I'm going to get into a couple other things here. I'm going to get into a couple other things here so we can understand this particular spiritual part. There's always some stuff. Now, I got this book. There's a movie you need to go see because it's connected. The movie is connected with this, the Skeleton Key. Anybody saw the Skeleton Key? The movie, the Skeleton Key, is connected. It's all about the voodoo, Louisiana, voodoo, the whole 9 yards. And one of the keys here is a book called Hoodoo Mysteries. And it says, and Hoodoo Mysteries, Inside Secrets of Louisiana Voodoo. And all of a sudden, by Ray Marlborough. And all of a sudden now, this book is hard to find, yet, but I bought the book in July. And now all of a sudden now, you can get them on the internet, and you can get them from certain places, and you can still get it. But they froze this book as far as you looked at or put it on the shelf. I bought it at Borders Books in July, and then all of a sudden this thing hit, and all of a sudden this book has disappeared. But I'm going to read you something here. Check it out. And so you'll understand what's really going on with this whole Louisiana thing. This book is a result of my research of spiritual magical baths. In mid-1999, I wrote an 8-page pamphlet on the topic about my spiritual bath, which was intended as supporting a text for a class in shell divination. The reader response to this brief treatment of the subject convinced me that the audience wanted to know more about voodoo in particular. In chapter 1, I had explained the difference between voodoo as a religion and voodoo as a spiritual or magical practices, as it has been handed down from generation to generation to an unbroken line. Now, if you go see the movie Skeleton Key, that's the first thing the sister says in there. She said voodoo is a religion and voodoo is other practices of magical practices and stuff. And you got to understand, voodoo is where you get the voodoo dolls from, because in voodoo there's no such thing as a doll. And that got mixed up. That's voodoo from Louisiana. You see what I'm saying? Now, moving right along, it says, hoodoo and voodoo, both religions, are practiced in the state of Louisiana, have many things in common, being from one root origin. Yet they have differences as well. In general, hoodoo practitioners carry many of the same functions as the Haitian Hogan Amango in the priestess in voodoo. However, hoodoo practitioners of Louisiana are more like the Vocal that exists in Haiti. And the Vocal is the black magic type of practitioner. A big difference is that in Louisiana, the hoodoo practitioner does not have a bad reputation as the Vocal does in Haiti, even though the word hoodoo itself has come a slang of the term of the meaning. Bad luck or fortune. A person who seems to have a run of bad luck is said to have been hoodoo. To many people, the word has derived from the word voodoo, taking the meaning during the early 19th century. So in so many words, they said that what happened is they outlawed voodoo in Louisiana, because after the Haitian Revolution, about a year later, Louisiana started importing Haitians. Now, remember now look at the thing. About a year after the Haitian Revolution, Louisiana, by being a French-speaking territory, and by the Haitians speaking French because they were colonized by the French, it was more than likely that when they started to travel, because they were freed, they made their way to New Orleans about a year later. Now look, they went and took a storm and hit Haiti last year. And 1 year later, they hit New Orleans, the same aspect of the way the voodoo traveled. You see, as a result, they outlawed voodoo in Haiti, and what happened was the laws on the book said that you could go to jail based on practicing voodoo or voodoo. But the laws on the book had no laws of practicing hoodoo. So they changed the word voodoo to hoodoo as a strategic move to practice voodoo in Louisiana. And thus you get the word hoodoo. And then hoodoo became mixed with Native American practice of the herbs and the Roman Catholic European practice of the candle burning, and therefore you got a whole other system that derives in America. That is the American origin. See, the whole concept here is this, man. You got to understand that the government, they look for things that have an American origin. They say without black people, America was in a third rate Europe. But because of so many cultures, and mainly the black culture, it made America the standard, you see, of its own unique culture. So when they look at particular things that can unseat them, they say, well, voodoo was from Haiti. But voodoo, which has the Catholic counterpart and Native American root counterpart, is its own unique religion that basically comes out of Louisiana. So as a result of it coming out of Louisiana, then Louisiana has to be the chief state in which they feel that their future problems to unseat them is going to come out of. This is their thinking. What they don't realize is there's a spirit war that's going on as well as a physical war, and what you have been seeing was the physical warfare, but there's a whole realm of spiritual warfare that's going on. So let me give you some aspect of what's going on in the spiritual world. New Orleans was called the city of the dead. Now, what is going on in the spirit world is this. This is something that is amazing in the aspect of it goes right down with ancient scripture. And I'm going to talk about biblical scripture, which you can't throw the Bible out because some of that motif is Egyptian. But we're talking about ancient scripture of this. The concept here is we live in two worlds. You can take the movie The Matrix as a great example. There was one world going on that was fake, which is the world we live in. A series of illusions that we think is real. And then there's the real world, which is the spirit world, which our souls is a player also. So now, in understanding this thing spiritually, we have a slave ship that brought us in here. You got a slave ship, which was this dome that had the same feces and all this stuff. Don't think this is just some shit that we dealing with. If you understand the esoteric aspect, this is the stuff that's going on. Then you have an astrodome, which is a place of refuge. So although they call us refugees, you understand what I'm saying? On their citizen plot, they say we let you go because you ain't citizens. But on another thing, hell, we need to be let go of goddamn sinister shit that's burning. If this thing is falling, then we need to be let go of it. And the government officially let us go when they call us refugees open. And even after the Congressional Black Caucus on Friday complained about it that Friday, they still call us refugees well into yesterday. They're still doing it on most stations. So they're telling you, so there's a ritual going on. Now try to understand this spiritually. It is the city of the dead. It's the city that has the festivals. You know, most of the Caribbean islands have the festival of Lent or their particular festival. The only one that actually has a festival on that particular level of that is New Orleans in America, and then the rest of the people you got to set up for Halloween. Because it's the same, that's where this shit comes from. Halloween is probably the most sacred day we got. You see what I'm saying? Whenever the kids come and knock on your door with the Halloween mask on, that is the souls coming. When you give them that candy, that's when you get blessed. It's a whole ritual with that. You see. So those represent souls coming. When you give them candy, it represents the wealth and prosperity you get. You see what I'm saying? I'll give you candy. Now, I didn't celebrate the Halloween, you know. I didn't want motherfucker knocking on my damn door. But my queen came down. She said, "Now we got to do this shit." She said, "Because them the spirits." You see what I'm saying? So the spirits and stuff is coming, and also there was a whole process. And sure enough, the next couple of months, we were real prosperous. This shit does work because it is a major ritual. Now, this is one of the mysteries here. Now, check this out. Now, try to understand this. There was a whole bunch of souls that were in pain and suffering, and then they got rescued. Now, despite what the government thinks, if you look at this thing outside of the physical body, what is going on the spiritual plane is what the Spirit says here is. When you saw those souls leave out of New Orleans, the city of the dead, going to another, the Astrodome or Atlantis, and several aspects around the world, and every place got these particular so-called souls or refugees in refuge around the country. It was a ritual, and although the government is doing it for his sinister reason, what they're actually saying here is that is nothing but the energy of our souls transferring from the matrix, the physical illusion, into another world.
Oh, yeah.
So this shit is on as we speak. And although, so there's all, it's just like when 9/11 came. There was a ritual that was going down. Although we saw the buildings fall, in the tarot card, the tarot of the tower, they say when the towers are struck, they had 2 towers in the tarot system out of Egypt. They said when the towers are struck, it represents the changing of the old guard to the new guard, the old garrison to the new garrison. You see what I'm saying? So when you have one slave ship give over to another slave ship, it represents a people. Now don't look at the physical Astrodome. Just look at the characters and the playing out of a role, a cosmic role. And as a result, it represents the souls coming out of bondage. It's the souls coming out of bondage. So for whatever they're doing, in so many words, they are fulfilling prophecy, even with their sinister deeds. Remember this, and I know it had to come from some things that I even studied it. You remember on the 10 Commandments, when he kept going to the Pharaoh. Now remember now, the Exodus story, you know, comes from the Corpus Hermeticus. It was a Hermetic Egyptian story. It basically, the Hebrews plagiarized. And if you get the Tanakh, what they call the Tanakh, which is a big, thick Old Testament. And if you look at the wording and look at the Hermetic text, the ones we have survived, you can literally see how the writing style, where they literally just plagiarize all these Egyptian texts. So now, the Exodus story, now try to understand this now. Remember in the 10 Commandments, which is based on the Exodus story, which is based on the Exodus of the souls coming out of a mental. Get Jeremiah and Ancient Egypt, Light of the World, Volume 2. Where they talk about the Exodus of the souls from a mental to the other world. A mental means land of honor, but it also means the underworld. It also means the physical body. So now, we're talking about a Camite ritual. It's in there, but in this particular text, the Exodus, which is taken, the Exodus, the book of Ezekiel, all that shit is taken from the Corpus Hermeticus of the souls exiting from a mental in the Egyptian ritual. Jeremiah explains all of that. In there, those souls that do their Exodus, in the movie The 10 Commandments, when Moses goes, which is Tahuti, if you understand not the historical shit, that never happened, is the mythological character, which is Tahuti, Moses goes to the Pharaoh, and he says, let my people go, and he said it several times, and the last time the Pharaoh did the last trick by saying, I'm going to kill the firstborn son. And Moses turned to him and said, oh, you fucked up this time because I told you the last time that the next time you judge, it's going to be by your own hand. So whatever sinister move they're making, it's going to happen to them. Now, let me explain something, how I know it's spiritual. I'm going to show you something to let you know that what I'm not talking about is bullshit. Look at Malachi 2. See what you got. Put that shit on the camera. It says Exodus. You see? As death toll climbs, perhaps thousands. You see, they only found 400 likely for months. Some refugees find shelter in Atlanta. Now, my point here is there's a ritual going on, and they just didn't put this on the paper when they say Exodus. So now, if there's a ritual going on in the physical, there's a ritual going on in the spirit realm. You see, in the spirit realm. And this is one of the keys. And by New Orleans being the city of the dead, but they say the dead shall rise. Mm-hmm. This stuff is going on, and it's spiritual, and it's happening. Get the movie, because it's all about this in the movie. It's going to happen with this disease. Watch this shit. It's coming. The CDC has already warned this shit.
That's right.
Get the movie, the Stephen King movie. What's the name of that movie? The Stand. You got it, baby. You get the damn stand and look at that shit, and you got it. All of that stuff is connected. When I pick up my stuff and have it unorganized, I can find shit right away. But there was a neat woman that came up in there in Louisiana, in St. Louis, and she piled up all the stuff real neat, and now I'm fucked up because I can't find it. But I'll go into it. Well, pretty much I'll go into what's going on. Then I'll find it when we come back and show you the actual picture of this thing. But in so many words, what has happened here is based on your thought pattern. Mm-hmm. And you can produce it with your own mind. And this is the best medicine they got, and they ain't about to get up off the liver. This shit right here. If you understand the medicinal aspect of this stuff here and all, this thing right here, shoot, man. So we'll get into that. But the point I'm trying to make is they lock down the herbs and vital. The other thing here as dealing with the DNA. What is the kickoff part of why your DNA has changed? Now, on July the 4th, at 2 o'clock in the morning, they sent an unmanned rocket up to a comet called Temple 1. And they blew a hole in it the size of 2 football fields. The size of 2 football fields. And this is how I know that the Spirit had to let them do it. Make them do it. Just to take some pictures of it. But whatever this comet was, the particles that was in this comet was the same stuff that was in the universe before this particular solar system was created. Now, if you understand as above, so below, if they blew open something in space that has ancient particles, subatomic particles, and microscopic organisms that was in the universe before this particular solar system was created, and you know, as above, so below, and the real universe is within, that means that the DNA and the melanin particles inside of you has unleashed a latent, potent form of melanin. In this case, it's called DMT spirit molecule. We got the book here to read up on the DMT spirit molecule by Rick Strassman, MD, to try to understand this concept. Although they use it as a drug, the DMT spirit molecule by Rick Strassman, but it unleashed a latent part of melanin inside of you. You just don't know it yet because the simple fact they got to keep you distracted. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? But that ain't going to work. You see, because the other part of the distraction is, based on the Sanskrit text is, when the people become fearful of annihilation, then these devices come online. So they damn if they do, damn if they don't. They don't know what they're doing. Like I say, they might run around this motherfucker, but they don't run it. We running it. We just don't understand. But when they hit that temple, it's in the H.P. Lovecraft talks about it in his Cthulhu mythos, and he had dreams of this thing 70 years ago. And in there they talk about there's an entity that sits in the part of the universe where all spheres meet. And when all spheres meet, and when that entity wakes up, all these dimensions come together as one. So in so many words, that's what happens when they hit that Temple 1. The entity on the inside of us is most potent part of DNA has been unleashed. You see what I'm saying? I can show you. I was trying to get the picture, but I do have the news article right here. I do have a news article right here where they show a sudden impact, and they got the comet, and they got this particular machine that was supposed to blow this up, and it hit dead center, and as a result, they woke up a Shiva-type energy. You see, a Shiva-type energy. You see, the hurricane is connected with this too, but even though they produced the hurricane, the energy that they produce is the Shiva-type energy. And when you get this movie, The Skeleton Key, there's an entity called the Dancing Shiva. And I'll show you this when we come back. The girl in the movie in Louisiana has on this Shiva shirt, T-shirt. You see what I'm saying? So all this stuff is connected. All this stuff is connected. So, as a result, they're in hot water with this fucking 2-for-1. Because they went too far and fucked up out in space and blew up the wrong ship, which was nothing but a sleeping hormone inside of us. You see what I'm saying? It's inside of us. So this stuff is going on, and as we go into what is called the harvest months, that's how I understand. Because when this shit hit this equinox, which when is the fall equinox? The 23rd. When it hits that, the fall equinox, you ever see that horn of plenty? Where you see all these festivals, you think it's some shit from the pilgrims, is actually spiritual festivals. They say that all the stuff grows in the spring, in the summer, and in the winter it has to be harvest. So energy and things inside of us is harvest in the spring and the summer. Why do you think you go to school in the fall? You go to full school in the fall because all of the hormones and different things is ready and can be concentrated on you learning. Everything's a ritual. But that great harvest that we're talking about, when this equinox hit, you see what I'm saying? And October starts to come in. You see what I'm saying? It's going to be there's a whole lot of shit happening, and a whole lot of hell going to break loose.
October 17th?
I'm telling you, it's almost like the spirit realm was looking back saying, we're going to set him here to do this kind of shit here, and he's going to do it. But in actuality, we are the authors or the architect behind him doing it. And the whole shit was a cosmic drama unfolding. That's why you can't get all emotional and shit, because this is prophecy fulfilling itself. We didn't talk about the fall of America for years. Now the motherfucker falling. You know what I'm saying? And you want to go back to goddamn antebellum times when your ass was a slave anyway. We ain't never had no fucking freedom.
That's right.
You see? So now here it is. They talk about the Katrina. In the Hebrew law, they talk about the Shekinah. They say when the Shekinah comes, the Shekinah is in exile. When the Shekinah comes back, Israel comes out of exile. You see what I'm saying? Israel, Isis, Ra, and El, which is harvest. You see, comes out of exile. So you got the Katrina, you got the Shekinah, you got the Shekinah, and then you get Katrina. And then all of a sudden, exile and fucking Exodus. It's all playing out. You see, it's all playing out. But it's all playing out based on this shit right here. This 2-for-1, they blew up that comet, and now the DNA inside of you is activated. It's needing lots and lots of water. Mm-hmm. Lots and lots of water. I'm talking about me and my mate, we get a 24 case of water. And we drink it in down 2 days. Or 3 days. As long as we up, we drinking water. I'll have 2 bottles open at the same damn time. Lots and lots of water. Not sink water. Lots and lots of water. You see what I'm saying? That's one of the keys. There's some other remedies also, but that's one of the keys. But let's see, a couple other things. I'm going to see something here before we go to, because we got a lot of stuff we got to cover. But before we go to the break, I want to see something else, see if there's anything else that, let's see, I got some other papers. I want to see if there's anything else that I need to understand what we say. I want to tell you this. There's a book out called The Laughing Jesus. Now, The Laughing Jesus. Let me see did I bring the damn book. It's called The Laughing Jesus by Peter Gandy and Timothy Free. By Peter Gandy and Timothy Free. Who did I bring it? It's called The Laughing Jesus. Oh, I think I left it in the damn suitcase. Anyway, I think on page 42 of the book, there's a chapter I want you to read in the book when you get it. You want to get 3 books. There's the Jesus Mystery by Peter Gandy and Timothy Free. There's Jesus and the Lost Goddess by Peter Gandy and Timothy Free. And there's the new book, The Laughing Jesus. I want you to read the chapter in The Laughing Jesus of the greatest person who never lived. They're talking about how they basically fabricated this historical Jesus from the Egyptian Gnostic Jesus that was talking about your inner self. And they worked for almost 200 years to get this shit down to a physical Jesus because Rome wanted to corner no damn market and rule with this physical thing. You say it's the real Jesus that came, or a real person, then all other religions become fake. But the only one that's fake is the damn Christianity, because even Hebrew or Islam never said the Messiah was back then. You know what I'm saying? The point I'm trying to make here is, there's a part in there where they go into the original text of what they took this Jesus from, and this is a Jesus of nonviolence that the Egyptians was talking about, because they was going up against Rome, and Rome was the America of that kingdom. And these Egyptians were talking about this nonviolent person, and if God is my witness, when you read that chapter, you're going to find out that basically, pound for pound and word for word, basically, Martin Luther King was fashioned after his character. Who thus makes a Messiah for white people. That's why he's most celebrated amongst white folks now. Mm-hmm. And so these people are so advanced and crafty until they created a black Messiah for themselves. That's why his name, his street is in every city down there in the country. And they got the actual Gnostic text on where they took this shit from. And the British fashioned it for Gandhi. And then they fashioned a greater Gnostic Christian aspect for Martin Luther King. And it's unbelievable. I'm reading this shit, I'm like, where did I see this shit before? And it's Martin Luther King. So in so many words, you understand why the original Martin Luther King Avenue in Atlanta, Georgia starts in the Confederate graveyard, which is, and all the rest of them. He is their Messiah, and it was interesting because about 12 or 13 years ago, right before I started lecturing, a guy from the Theological Seminary, which is the black place where they train the black preachers, he was talking to me one day, and we got into this discussion about Martin Luther King, and he was like, no, man, he said, you didn't know? He said, that was a Messiah that they trained, that was a Messiah they put for white folks. I'm like, damn. I said, you all discuss this shit? He said, man, they made that motherfucker up as a Messiah for them. And this guy told me this shit about 13 years ago when he was in the seminary being trained, and he told me this story, and I said, man, that's interesting, he's saying this. And then I get this book of Laughing Jesus, and I'm reading the part on the chapter on the greatest person who never lived, and here is these texts talking about the Jesus against the Roman one, and the one with the Egyptian one was a non-violent one, and it was the same, I mean, literally, it was the role. It's almost like everything that he did, Martin Luther King did, it was a script that was written down from these ancient Gnostic Egyptian texts of a Messiah. Well, since they made him one shit, it still works that way. But then again, on the other hand, isn't it interesting that his wife would have the stroke about 2 weeks before the hurricane, or 3 weeks before the hurricane? Everything is everything. See what I'm saying? Everything is everything. So it's just a lot of this. It's just a lot of stuff that's going on. So now, I want to explain something before we go over and stuff, because I got a lot of things. I want to explain this. This one with the afro is a form of Erzuli. This is Erzuli. This is one called Saint Martha. And she showed up. As a matter of fact, spiritually, I drew a picture of this afro woman that's in my house, because I'm an artist. But I'm a photorealistic artist. I draw that you got to look real close to see the photograph. I was obsessed with that. thus it ended my career as an artist, because you can't grow that much in bigger ideas when you're dealing with that stuff. That's more for illustrators. But I was the best at it. You got to look real close to see whether it was a photograph. But anyway, I drew this picture of this Afro woman in 1991. And come to find out, she said that I drew her years ago. This is the form of her Zulu got a snake around her. This is the whole DNA we're going to talk about. But anyway, she's St. Martha, the dominatrix. And you light a green candle to her image on a Friday and it keeps the enemy down or makes a wandering husband return. Wow. Then they have a prayer to St. Martha. They have a prayer to St. Martha that you can do. But she's also for protection. So anybody can deal with this and stuff. If you want protection, if you need protection, especially now with all this shit going on, this is the one you want to deal with. And this particular God called Hemmitt. All these forces. Now, for the people that want to be, okay, let's go. We'll give you several things. Let's say you're a woman and you got a peaceful man, but you want him to be have more passion. Maybe the fire done going out your shit. Then here's a picture of a voodoo priestess, dancing naked. You can't see it really. With a chicken. And it says the voodoo dancer is naked in sexual ecstasy, possessed by voodoo lower Erzuli. So she's possessed by Erzuli, the goddess of sexual love. The chicken she holds in her hand will be sacrificed to the goddess later, or later to the goddess. So what you're actually seeing is an actual ritual going on. So as a result, if you really want to get some heat, if you want to get some real fire in your shit, you know, you want, or if you're a brother, you want to be desired, and you anything in the love thing with this Erzuli, this is the shit that you want. Now, to let you know how this was. And I had to take this home on a cover book, which the picture was about this small, and I had to blow it up the best I could get it. And this is the best I could get the silhouette. So you can see it in there, but it's still an artistic form of a silhouette. Now, this is the mystery. This symbol of Erzuli, I drew the silhouette up only with the caption, you see. I didn't put the symbol on here until Thursday. I put the symbol on that Thursday, and I didn't bring the pictures because there was I didn't want the plane to fuck them up. They're fucking up shit. But I put them in her altar. As soon as I drew the pictures, press picture came inside of the damn Xerox machine, and it's these wavy lines and 4 pictures. And 4 pictures. But at first I thought the Xerox machine was messing up. But I remember I had already done 2 pictures before, and then on the fourth or fifth picture it went back normal. And then I realized, and I had one of the seers out in the car. And my maid is a seer. And I said, wait a minute, did Erzuli come up in that motherfucker when I was in there doing it? They said, yeah. So she was sending a message saying, if these niggas get this goddamn picture right here, you want a nigga? I've been trying to get this love spell shit down for a minute. So the sisters can have some relief, or the brothers that need somebody, you want to get some real passion going. They said, if you want to get one, if this woman dance with this chicken, you take this thing here and put it on your wall. And altar, you have all kind of shit up in your house. I have some orgies going on up in here. You know what I'm saying? Milkman, mailman, whatever. Whosoever. But my point here, so that's one of the particular ones. We're going to be talking about this yantra. This is the Sri yantra. This is the ultimate form of the DNA matrix that lines up the DNA. We're going to be talking about this yantra. And we got a book on it. This is the thing that you stare into and it lines up the DNA. This is the temple of Horus, the Heru, which I got the temple of Dendera. They marry each other each year, so also for prosperity and for love. Now, if you want to put this temple up with the temple of Dendera, this is the goddess Durga, which is a warrior aspect of the goddess Kali, and she's one that you want in your energy right now because her energy was a part of the tsunami. This is the temple of Angkor Wat, which is 37 miles long in Southeast Asia, Cambodia. This is why it had the Vietnam War. This is the temple of Isis, Aset, which is very key right now because Aset is a form of Erzuli. And of course, I've been selling these Lakshmis. One sister and them did a ritual of Lakshmi, made a whole bunch of money made a whole bunch of money and moved. They made a whole bunch of money. They sent me this. They was living in Hawaii. They sent me and the sister Delbert and my mate some volcano wine from the goddess Pele, because she's on the scene right now. Then they moved to New Orleans about a month ago or 2 months ago, so we trying to see what happened to them. I think they said the money was lost and had enough to stay in a hotel. This is Hammer. With this particular person, you can't lose on no aspect with this particular Hammer. Now, it's the interesting thing about him. I've had him for the last 3 lectures, and I go to places, and 1 or 2 people buy Hammer, and then I say, why they ain't buying you? They say, he's a trick, he's a monkey deity. And he said, only the people supposed to buy me is the people that's right in spirit. So the other ones, they walk past me and shit, and they ain't right. So he hides from their ass and stuff. And now this is also the goddess, this is Lakshmi, but this is her mate, Vishnu, which is her mate, and there's 2 aspects of the male and female consort of divine love. This is coming from the temple of Kalamaho in India. And you can see he's a brother because he's caressing their breast. Now this is God and goddesses of the universe and stuff, so it's interesting how you can have a religion where you go from this kind of shit where he's holding on that coupling that booze and shit to being a damn unit, whereas you know he's supposed to have sex and passion and all that is bad. You put this Christianity and these other religions and stuff. And last but not least, this is the God, and I got tons of these things, I got more than these. This is the God Shiva. Now Shiva is also an energy now. Anybody in the last month or 2 months been seeing these thunderstorms, this thundering, but yet ain't no rain. Anybody been experiencing this? I know it's happening down in Atlanta. That's this God Shiva, who immediately after this temple 1 was exploded, his energy reawoke. And so his energy is real powerful right now. Real powerful right now. And also, this is also that. So you want to align yourself with that. Plus we got 3 times as many pictures, so you want to deal with those type of things. I also have some DVDs, some DVDs down there that I did in Chicago. That's the bomb. It's like a day 2 of this particular. It's a different lecture, but it's real interesting stuff that's going on in the actual DVD. And a lot of the brothers, the scholars showed up for that particular lecture too. So we got some DVDs and some other things. So we're gonna go to a break, and when we come back, we're gonna go into some more stuff. We got a lot of stuff to cover. Y'all all right?
Peace.
Okay, so y'all. Okay, we back on.
Yeah, you're back on.
You need to get this book, Spiritual Cleansing and Psychic Self-Defense by Robert Laramie. The picture that you see of St. Martha, I got a little teeny picture of it out of this book. And then I found other pictures, but there's other prayers and stuff in this book. This book here will guard you off from psychic vampires. Tell them that over there, the party is picking up.
Hey, somebody.
Yeah, and tell them also the children are all on the table. So tell them, send me in church. So anyway, the Spiritual Cleansing and Psychic Self-Defense by Robert Laramie, Laramey. This is one you need for psychic vampires. You're going to get a lot of that now. What that means is we have a lot of psychic vampires. People come around you and you immediately feel bad. They drain your energy. We have a lot of psychic vampires and stuff like that. Hey, I'm telling you, the baby's picking up on that thing. Tell them that, we can hear them and it's picking up. You can have a film full of crime. Yeah. Tell them to take them in the swamp. Yeah.
Quick side note, I was listening to a show about a guy blessing water or getting demons. Is such thing as demons or bad energy in water?
Well, the word Damien just means your own higher self. These are ancient terms used for water things, but there is negative energy.
Right.
And a lot of people carry negative energy.
So can you drink a lot of water with bad energy in it?
Well, let's put it this way. I don't know about that. I know when a person, Like the other day, I was mad and I was cooking. Somebody called me on the phone, pissed me the shit off. And immediately, my maid got some type of heartburn or something, a stomach ache. So you can put energy transfers on that particular level. This one, Spiritual Cleansing and Psychic Self-Defense, is an excellent book by Robert Laramie. It's an excellent book. So we just want to, but I don't know about whether drinking water, not unless there's somebody transferring something, not unless somebody's transferring something, on that particular level. Okay, moving right along. Let's see. Yeah, this is going to be strong. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I'm going to show something here. I'm going to show something right now, and then I'm going to return back to it. Yeah, let's see what we got here. Two things. First of all, what we're dealing with now, we're going to line up the DNA, is there's a lot of books out on the chakras. But this particular book here, dealing with the chakras, is a lot more stuff added to it. So you might get the chakras, and they might show certain pictures. But this particular picture showing you that there's a lot more going on inside of you when you can see this basic chakra, and there's 7 of these. I'm thinking something like 160 in all. But if this chakra with the god Shiva, and that's the goddess Lakshmi, and there's an alligator, a skull, a lotus plant, and a whole bunch of stuff that is going on, comes to show you that in each one of us, there's a lot more going on than what we think it is. It's like it's literally a whole civilization. If the 7 basic chakras have this much energy going on, then that's something that you need to deal with. Now here's a book called The Chakras, Energy Centers for a Transformation by Harish Johari, Johari. So now this particular book, as well as, let's see, I got the book on the young. Let's see about on the young. This particular book, as well as, did I have that book when I first came? I might have put it in the, I think I might have left it in my bag. This particular book is going to give you more. It's going to give you more than the basic book that you get, because as I'll show you, there's different things that's going on, and different types of activity that's going on inside your chakras. So this is almost as if that your human body is a whole universe within itself. And I think that this particular book, Chakras, the Energy Centers of Transformation, by Harish, H-A-R-I-S-H, Johari, J-O-H-A-R-I, is probably one of the a little more advanced books. There's another book called The Yantra by the same person. I think I talked about it on my tape in June, and we'll go back into that, how the yantra lines up the DNA. But now we're talking also, let me show you that, the yantra. The yantra is this particular picture here. But I'm going to get a color picture of it. But I just wanted to illustrate the book that's probably the most important at this time is this particular one. It costs about $19 for that particular book. But if you're going to deal with the chakra, you need to deal with books that give you a lot more information. And I just thought it was very curious when I got the yantra book, and I knew he had the chakra book. But when I finally took a look at it, I just thought it was just very curious on how that's a real illustrated point to show something that's inside your body that has activity and entities, you see what I'm saying, that is going on. So that's why they talk about, and I think that Lakshmi governs the heart chakra, and that's why they talk about that you can fool a lot of people, but you can't fool yourself because there's somebody on the inside of you judging. So in so many words, that inside of you is nothing but an aspect of your own soul, of your own soul. And so as a result, keeping that in mind, I think that this particular book that I just gave you is an excellent book at this particular time when we're talking about lining up DNA. You see what I'm saying? And I'm going to show you exactly what the DNA thing is. I don't want you to mistake the DNA with the medical DNA. Now they're dealing with two strands of the double helix DNA. And pretty much the science is based on those two strands. Now you've heard people like David Icke, you've heard people like David Icke, you've heard people like I think it's Zachariah Sitchin, and they all talk about how we used to have 12 DNA strands. I'm getting ready to give you a good mystery on this, because there's a big debate on, they say we used to have 12 DNA strands, and then it went down to 2 DNA strands. Now the picture that the movie you want to get is to get the movie Fifth Element. And in that movie, this woman had about 100 DNA strands. Okay, that's pretty much like it is. There might be 12 major, but what we're talking about is 100 DNA strands. Now this yantra, which lines up the DNA, which you see in here, there's a book out on the yantra, and you stare into this, and it's the ultimate principle, and you stare into this particular yantra, and it lines up the DNA. Well, also a part of lining up the DNA is this new chakra information done by the same guy who puts out the yantra book, that Harish Johari, which is excellent. So we're going to have to start, most of the stuff is going to be, let me explain it. Your spirit already knows what it is. So you have to do very little work. A lot of these things go to images and symbols, and there's like one white boy told me one time. Well, he said something, the same thing that C3 Manel said, that this thing is going to come down to symbolism. And whatever symbols you can come across is what is going to activate you on a higher level. So a lot of the exercise, there were certain symbols that the ancient people put in place for us, and all you got to do is look at it. Now we know that because soon as I remember when we first started tapping back into the Egyptian stuff, Camite stuff, 12, 13 years ago, 15 years ago, and just something about them pictures on the temple wall just did something. It actually woke things up. I saw one of these temples here, and I said, I looked and I said, these people were not a people that were a regular type of people as we know. And for that one instant when I saw this, this was about 14, 15 years ago, when I saw this, it took me out of the reality of the possibilities of what I know white society tell you all there is. You know what I'm saying? It took me out of that thing. So I know that just the imagery alone. But we go to Kemet and you visit those large monuments, you're not there long enough. But if you can align yourself with certain symbolism, then it can open up certain consciousness. So these temples, we awaken you to a certain amount of knowledge that you are a great people. Now these particular symbolism, this particular symbol, and especially this particular one, when we're dealing with this particular time, is going to be crucial. And it's still in print. It's 1995. It's going to be crucial because you're going to try to understand the different aspects of these chakras, not for the aspect of just some wheels of light that you see in some books, but the key is to try to study the imagery. Now, I do you one better. I have a tape, and also you can get in touch with me. I have a tape on the chakras where these white folks have come in. And they've gone to, and they took the animated stuff and computers, and they go to each chakra. And they go in and they show all this type of imagery until it gets to the top chakra, and then Shiva's sitting up there, and it's a whole thing. They've illuminated this whole thing, and I got access to that. So if you're interested in that, you can get in contact with me. And this is one of the keys also what I want to deal with.